Good evening, y'all. Please take your seats. Councilmen, please take your seats. All right, if we're all ready. Martha? All right, let's get started. If we can, Councilman Impastato, would you lead us in the pledge, followed by Councilwoman Seiden with the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You might want to turn your mic on.
Okay. I'd like to open with a blessing from the Old Testament. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. God, please grant us wisdom this evening and help us to make St. Tammany a better parish for everyone as we conduct our meeting. Let us to remember to speak to one another with respect and understanding. Amen. Amen. And I'd like to take a moment of personal privilege.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I ask that we remember the 4 Americans that are still alive and being held hostage as we approached the anniversary of the atrocities that happened October the 7th, 2023. And I'm going to read their names. Keith Siegel, Segway Dekel Chen, Eden Alexander, Omer Nutra. Please join me as we take a moment of silence for all of the hostages and all of the lives lost in the war between Israel and Hamas. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Rowland?
Here.
Ms. Casabon?
Here.
Ms. Seiden?
Here.
Mr. Phillips?
Here.
Ms. Tanner?
Here.
Mr. Impastato?
Here.
Mr. Burt?
Here.
Mr. Kugel?
Here.
Ms. O'Brien? Mr. Laughlin?
Here.
Mr. Bender?
Here.
Mr. Corbin?
Here.
And Mr. Strickland?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. A 3-minute time limit is established for each member of the public wishing to speak for or against an item on the agenda except appeals. To ensure that all speakers are heard, please hold cheers and applause. Anyone who wishes to place a comment in the record but who does not wish to speak at the podium may fill out a speaker card and check the box indicating they do not wish to speak. First item is an announcement of a special public meeting. Notice is hereby given that its meeting to be held on Thursday, November 7th, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the council chambers of the Parish Government Complex, 21490 Coop Drive, Mandeville, Louisiana. The Parish Council of the Parish of St. Tammany, State of Louisiana, plans to consider adopting one or more resolutions ordering and calling elections to be held in the Parish of St. Tammany, State of Louisiana, to authorize the renewal of one or more ad valorem taxes therein, Road Lighting District Number 10 of the Parish of St. Tammany, State of Louisiana, and to authorize the levy of a service charge therein, and Sales Tax District Number 3 of the Parish of St. Tammany, State of Louisiana, to authorize the extension and rededication of a sales tax and use therein. So at this point, I would entertain an ordinance, I would entertain a motion to take the agenda out of order to do the presentation first.
I move. Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Impastato, seconded by Councilwoman Seiden, I believe. Yep. Do we need to vote? All right, please vote to take the agenda out of order.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
President Cooper, please lead us in the presentation section.
Good evening, members of the council, those in attendance here at the Parish Council, regular Parish Council meeting here in October. And my first presentation is my monthly presentation for Employee of the Month. And I'm going to ask Ms. Amanda Osborne Corral to please join me here at the podium. Amanda? Whereas Amanda Osborne Corral began her employment with St. Tammany Parish government with the Department of Environmental Services in 2018, before transferring to the Department of Technology in April 2021, where she currently serves as the office administrator. And whereas Amanda's responsibilities include overseeing all administrative processes within the department, including maintaining the office's budget, supplies, and tracking software licensing to ensure St. Tammany Parish government is able to function effectively and efficiently. And whereas Amanda is a dedicated and reliable problem solver who is always looking to improve any situation that the department finds itself in and never backs down from a challenging situation. And whereas Amanda was critical in getting our essential personnel team up and running at the EOC for Hurricane Francine, to ensure all necessary team members had a sufficient workspace to allow them to remain productive throughout the emergency activation. And whereas Amanda is a selfless and resourceful employee who performs her duties on a daily basis in a professional manner, and we're very fortunate to have Amanda as a part of Team Tammany. Now therefore I, Michael B. Cooper, as parish president of this great parish, do hereby recognize the hard work, dedication, and accomplishments of Amanda Osborne Corral as Employee of the Month, October 2024, and encourage our Parish Council, our citizens of St. Tammany, to thank her for her contributions and commitment to St. Tammany Parish. Congratulations, Amanda. Now you're getting a standing ovation from the council members. Now, Amanda was nominated by her director, Grant Black of the Technology Department, and she is joined here with her family, her husband John, and her daughter Adelaide and son Joseph, who are sitting right here in the front. Okay. So, if you want to come get in the picture, we can stand right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you want to say anything?
Oh, no, sir. I'm okay. Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right.
Congratulations. For my second presentation, I have a certificate of recognition for one of our Team Tammany employees in Public Works, Mr. Ty DeWitt. Ty, would you please come join me? How you doing, young man?
How you doing?
Ty is a member of our Public Works Department. Earlier this month, several of our Public Works employees attended the National APWA, American Public Works Association, conference in Atlanta. As part of the conference, several of our equipment operators participated in the rodeo competition. Rodeo, R-O-A-D-E-O, rodeo competition, which allows participants to test their skills by maneuvering machinery through an obstacle course. Out of 72 equipment operators from across the country, our own Ty DeWitt placed first in the National Mini Excavator Competition, first place nationally, and fourth place nationally in the backhoe competition. What a remarkable feat for our own Ty DeWitt of Team Tammany, Department of Public Works. Look at that, another standing ovation for you, young man. Look at that crowd, look at that crowd. Now, did you have a few words to say? You sure?
I'm sure, I'm positive.
On behalf of Ty, he says thank you very much. He enjoyed the rodeo. And I have one other acknowledgement. That Council Member Maureen O'Brien and others are going to join me at the podium while I recognize a drug prevention campaign that is being led by some individuals of the Seymour DeFair Foundation.
Coming up.
You want to ask him to come up? David, Dara?
He's gonna take pictures.
Okay, we'll do pictures for you. Dr. C, how you doing? How you doing? Great to see you. Great to see you. We're here to promote Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through the 31st. Red Ribbon Week is the nation's largest and longest running drug prevention campaign. The campaign started in response to the brutal murder of DEA agent Enrique Kiki Camarena by a drug cartel in Mexico in 1985. Law enforcement personnel, family, and friends began wearing red ribbons to honor his legacy and to raise awareness of the destruction caused by drugs in America. And the campaign spread nationwide and has been recognized annually since his death. Each year during Red Ribbon Week, schools and workplaces around the nation pledge their commitment to encouraging healthy, drug-free lives. Locally, we are proud to support Seymour DeFair Foundation and the Louisiana Children and Youth Prevention Coalition and their Wrap St. Tammany in Red initiative. The program reaches more than 15,000 K-3 students across 30 elementary schools here in St. Tammany Parish to promote a drug-free lifestyle in a fun and engaging way. I want to thank our friends, Craig Wiles, who is not here this evening, but David and Dara Lemoyne Johnson of Seymour DeFair Foundation for their dedication to raising awareness and promoting drug prevention in our community. For more information, or if you'd like to get involved organizing Red Ribbon Week activities in St. Tammany, you can visit SeymourFoundation.org or Seymour'sFoundation.org. Dara, David,
Thank you so much. We
congratulations,
appreciate it.
and thank you
Few
for
words.
your involvement. Members of the Parish Council representing the Mandeville-Lacombe area.
Did you want to say a few
And
words? I just
welcome to
wanted
say that.
to.
Please do. Please do.
I just wanted to thank Parish President Mike Cooper, Councilwoman Maureen O'Brien, and the Parish Council for acknowledging Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through 31st. Thank you.
Okay, and these are all the council members from.
There we go. Good morning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dave.
Thank
All right. Good. Sorry Craig wasn't here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, members of the council.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Strickland, I believe you're next.
Recovering from a chainsaw injury, so at least I'm off the crutches, so grateful. Okay, I'd like to call up Malachi Santa Cruz. And thank you for your services. This is a certificate of recognition. The Parish Council desires to acknowledge the young men of this parish for their positive achievements and accomplishments. Whereas Malachi Santa Cruz is a resident of Slidell, Louisiana, and graduated from Salmon High School in 2024, where he participated in the JAG for Credit program and graduated with the ranking of Cadet Lieutenant Colonel. And whereas Malachi received the first place award for best employability skills at the JAG Louisiana Career Development Conference. And whereas Malachi earned the honor of being ranked #1 in the state of Louisiana in his JAG class and #4 nationally. And whereas Malachi enlisted in the Louisiana Army National Guard his junior year and after graduation trained at Port Sill as a member of the Field Artillery Cannon Crew. And whereas Malachi continues his service to our country and community as the St. Tammany Parish Sheriff Corrections Deputy working at the Jackson Street Barracks. And whereas the Parish Council pledges our gratitude to Malachi and every man and woman currently serving our nation to help preserve and defend our freedom. Now, therefore, on October the 3rd, 2024, I, Jimmy Strickland, Councilman District 14, take great honor and pride in recognizing Malachi Santa Cruz and thank him for his leadership, commitment, and service to our community. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you guys and Councilman Strickland for having me here today. It's citizens like you in our parish that us veterans like to live here and stay here and serve here, right? So, you know, I love living here in St. Tammany Parish. I love being a citizen of this country, and I love just as much being a soldier and a sheriff here. So thank you guys for having me here today.
All right. At this point, we can take put the agenda back into its original order, starting off with special items. The Parish Council will hold a public hearing in council chambers at 6 p.m. on Thursday, November 7th, to review the proposed operating and capital improvement budget prior to adoption. Copies of both proposed budgets will be made available for public inspection by October 7th, 2024 at the Parish Council office or online at stpg-TV.org. Under ordinances for introduction, number 1, ordinance calendar number 7703, ordinance to adopt the 2025 operating budget. All right, we have a number of cards. All right, and before we get started, I would just like to say on behalf of the Parish Council, I want to thank President Cooper, CFO Leslie Long, and the Finance Department staff, all the department directors, and the leaders of the various parish-funded agencies for their work to complete the proposed 2025 budget and provide it to the Parish Council per the requirements defined in the Home Rule Charter. I also want to acknowledge that St. Tammany Parish government includes the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. We are one government. The Council will now begin the process of reviewing the administration's proposed budget with a fresh set of eyes. We are looking forward to working collaboratively with the administration, the administrative departments, and the agencies funded by the parish to yield the best possible outcome for all of the citizens of St. Tammany Parish. We want to specifically thank the citizens of St. Tammany Parish for entrusting us with this huge responsibility. Judge Burris, you're first, sir.
President Cooper, Parish Council, I've met you all before. I'm Chief Judge Billy Burris. The founders of this country said that there are 3 heads of this government, just as you mentioned, the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. Executive enforces the laws. Legislative makes the laws. The judicial interprets the laws, resolves disputes, and protects individual rights. You know, us in the judicial branch are known as the silent branch, and there's a reason for it. We're to be independent, fair, and we're not to be beholden to anyone, including the other 2 branches. The budget that was offered tonight will gut the judicial branch. Prisoners will be released. Business climate in this parish will plummet. Civil trials will be delayed for years. Specialty courts will be no more, releasing hundreds of people who suffer from substance abuse disorders and mental illnesses onto the streets with little to no supervision. divorces, custody hearings, adoptions, misdemeanors, felonies, you name it, everything will be significantly affected because of the budget that you've just been handed. The judges ourselves will not be affected. We're paid by the state. The budget that we've requested is our staff. More than 80% of it is our staff that runs our offices and keeps things running efficiently. And if you'll ask around the state, we are one of the most efficient judicial branches in the state. The administration's response when faced with a statement such as when one of the wealthiest and most conservative parishes in this state, this budget is straight out of the pages of Portland, Oregon and other liberal bastions, where they've defunded and cut the judicial branch, the criminal justice center of this parish. And that response is, help us pass the tax rededication or else. You're asking us, the silent branch, to do your jobs. Parish Council, I implore you to reject this budget, fully fund the court system, and we very much look forward to continue to working with y'all to do this. A couple questions might be relevant here. Last year, this administration offered a similar budget. And on the eve of that year, right before the budget was ultimately amended, the CFO miraculously found $7+ million. No one knew about it. Councilwoman Tanner, I believe I was watching it online instead of here in person. And you asked the question, where did this money come from? A year has passed. That question, to my knowledge, has never been adequately answered to the public. The relevant follow-up question might be, if there were $7 million that no one knew about, even the council, is there any else? And if so, how much? Where is it and who knows about it? Council, if you want to be the heroes of St. Tammany Parish, force this administration to show you where the money is. It's that simple. If there is none, there is none. But you owe it to the parish, you owe it to your constituents to look for it. Because what this seems an awful lot like, because in reviewing this just for the last 10 minutes, the proposed budget, not a single other entity has had a single unfunded request except for the judges, the DA, and the sheriff. If you want to look a whole lot like you're defunding the court system and no one else, that's it. Verify. If nothing else, verify there's no more money. If there isn't, there isn't. You've at least been able to check that box and make sure there's no more money. If there is, this administration has not been truthful with us. It's not been truthful with y'all. And y'all should at least know. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would suggest that you would probably find plenty. Public, I leave you with a few questions. This administration has cut court and DA and sheriff by 55%. What other budget has been cut? Although I haven't seen the 300-page version of this, I would wager not many. The next question, has the parish made any cuts? It's asking us to cut 55% of our staff. Again, I would offer the suggestion that probably there have been no cuts in the parish government except for to say, court system, you fire all your employees. We're not going to fire any because obviously we've got plenty of money. You guys, you fire all of yours. If you all accept this travesty of a budget, the court system will be broken. You all will suffer. Your families will suffer. Your constituents will suffer. Everyone in this parish will suffer. Please don't allow St. Tammany Parish to become the next Portland, Oregon. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge Zonbrecker, I hope I got that right.
You did, and I cede my time.
Thank you. Judge LaBello?
I likewise use my time. Thank you, Chief.
Is that a change? No. Okay. Brian Brown?
Good evening. My name is Brian Brown. I've been in law enforcement for 34 years now. I was head of the Attorney General's Internet Crimes Against Children unit for the last decade. I've dedicated my life to protecting children. I'm now in St. Tammany Parish. I've come back home. I'm working with the DA's office in the Special Victims Unit that the DA has created. Since doing this, I have been able to present to about 700 family, parents and children in the parish on internet safety and how to protect their children online. I'm a forensics and computer expert. I'm able to help the other agencies that do not have that ability to do forensics by going and assisting them in their investigations. And I have rescued with them 5 children that were being sexually abused, and the evidence was found on the computers. There's been countless other investigations with different rapes, suicide stuff that I've helped the other agencies with. And all that's coming from the district attorney having a special victims unit. Like I said, I have dedicated my life to protect children. I have worked in every JDC in the state of Louisiana. I have been expert in court in a lot of jurisdictions. We have it very good in St. Tammany. This is one of the better courts that I deal with, one of the best DA's offices I deal with. If this funding is taken away from them, look at some of these other parishes. That is what's going to happen to us. I have a young child. I am home in St. Tammany trying to protect our children. I'm out weekly doing these presentations, talking to parents. The judges in the DA's office we have is tremendous. If you take this money away from them, they're going to lose this, and no one is going to be able to protect the children and give this extra help because our police departments and our sheriff's departments do not have the funds to train someone like me that is an expert in computer and cellular forensics, and I have expertise in interviewing and sex offenders. It's very, very expensive to obtain all the knowledge I bring from the state back to St. Tammany. We're very fortunate to be able to work with the DA's office doing this. So I just ask you to please consider the funding, if it's there, helping the DA's office and the judges, because we have a great system. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to do my best with this one. Vincent Salta-Formasio? Formasio. Could you correct me for me when you get up?
My name is Vincent Salta-Formaggio, and I'm the chief investigator for the district attorney's office here. I've been with the DA's office for 10 years. I've been in law enforcement for 45 years. Prior to my time here with the DA's office, I was, just like Kiki, I was a DE agent. I was a special agent, did it for 25 years, and my job there was to go work in other countries and other states in our country, to embed in these different countries and other states, and to get the police departments to work together to target drug dealers. So after I retired, I came back, and we were able to start doing that in our parish. Most district attorneys' offices they prosecute cases and go to court, but our office decided to be a little more proactive with the drug problems. So we started this program, and right now we have all the local law enforcement, whether it be Jefferson Parish, St. Bernard, Tangi, and our parish, all these different departments are working together with us to form methods in order to target the traffickers in our area. There's no boundaries in the drug business. St. Bernard boundary, our boundaries, the drugs go back and forth through all the parishes, so you have to work as a unit, and that's what we're trying to do. And if we have any cuts to our budget, we're going to lose that, and that's a problem for our parish and for our people. So I just beg you, we try to just keep our budget straight and not have any cuts where it affect what we're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you. District Attorney Sims. Didn't he get more time?
You guys have heard from me an awful lot over the last several months or beginning of the year now. You've been submitted a dangerous and reckless proposition. There is not an organization that any of you can think of in all of your various capacities and jobs and different hats that you wear other than sitting here that can handle a 55% cut. Where the DA's office ranks, where the judges rank, should be somewhere around 2, 3, 4, I don't care what order it's in, they're all equally important, probably next to education or all in the same area. I don't think anything has been looked at. I don't think any other cuts in any other areas have been thought of. I think you just received something that is completely negligent. I don't care if you don't find another dime. You should have looked elsewhere to cut before you decided to jeopardize the things that you just heard. And whether there's other money out there, I hope you find it. I think we all sit here and know that there is. But to even put pen to paper and even tell all of this staff that you see right here, these are all prosecutors. No one's getting rich. They are prosecuting the worst of the worst in this parish. And I want to give you a sample of what's going on just this year. 280 sex offenders have been convicted this year. We have charged over 2,100 defendants, 2,384 defendants with felonies just this year in our judicial district. We've convicted over 2,100 felons this year. We've gone to trial against some of the worst of the worst, and I'll read some of these cases to you, and you tell me if you want to cut 55% away from our ability to do this, and this is going to take me more than 3 minutes. Trial 1, aggravated rape, filing false liens against law enforcement, second-degree murder, aggravated crimes against nature under 13 victim, first-degree rape under 13 victim, first-degree rape under 13 victim, second-degree murder, simple burglary, theft over $25,000, second-degree murder, sexual battery, second-degree murder, second-degree rape, second-degree murder, possession of firearm by a convicted felon, simple assault, accessory to murder after the fact, possession of child pornography victims under 13, manslaughter, first-degree rape victim under 13, second-degree murder, first-degree rape victim under 13, second-degree murder, cruelty to juveniles, distribution of fentanyl, registration of a sex offender violation, child predator, attempt manslaughter, domestic abuse, aggravated assault, indecent behavior with juveniles under 13, domestic abuse, strangulation, child endangerment, manslaughter. That's just this year so far in trials. And we're also pleading 2,100 other felons guilty in this very efficient system that operates. And if you have any hiccups in it, like we've seen with COVID, you back the whole thing up, you start having speedy trial issues, you start letting people out of jail. And by the way, the longer this takes, the more money we cost you in the jail. That's also not funded. To submit, I almost, and probably for the first time in my life, I don't even know what to say. Forget me as a DA. I couldn't be more disappointed as a citizen that that piece of garbage that has been sent to you is even sitting in front of you, because you know what that is? That's a recommendation from this side of the House of what they want you to do. So you're now going to be asked to go through and look at every possible fund balance with, and someone answer me out loud if you don't mind, how much staff do you have to do that?
I think we have 5 members of our staff.
Yeah. How many of them are forensically trained to look at accounts, and how many of them are accountants in your staff?
None.
None. So you don't have one accountant to go through this budget that you just received today that's got a 55% cut.
No, sir.
That's quite a recommendation. And I asked these other guys to stay because we can be a regular DA's office and just be reactive. You'll lose half of your staff sitting in here right now that have already sacrificed to work here, who have families and have dedicated their lives to keeping you safe, and say, oh my God, how long will 55% last us? Excuse me, it's only 45%. Will I have a job? Should I still look at looking elsewhere in Jefferson Parish, where they figured out how to fund their DA's office? $14.8 million compared to the $4.5 million you gave us last year. And we're not talking about a budget cut, right? You're talking about giving us 55% less than what you actually handed us last year. You already gave this office $2.8 million less than what we asked for. So we're not talking about budgets. We're talking about actual dollars in hand, 55% less of your portion of how we operate. That never should have happened so far. Now, moving forward, I know that you guys just received this today, just now, just this evening. I understand that. I really hope that you go through and find other money and figure out how that's not even remotely possible. I'm asking you to help us save this office, save our ability to go and work in a multi-jurisdictional. We had 120 overdose deaths. We're the only agency figuring out how to go after them for murder. That's gone. Our sex offense unit that goes with the Hope House, that will have Men Who Cook, and everyone will come here to donate money so that we can go after child predators on the roof of the Justice Center. Tell them don't come. It's a waste of money. The however much money the sheriff already gets, wasted. Because all of their arrests without our prosecutions are totally worthless. Without their ability to process those cases through this system, totally worthless. If I was fully funded and you still did to them what's been suggested, totally worthless. None of this works without the other. And we sit here almost with nothing. So I have two choices right now because of what's been submitted. And I'm sorry, please don't quit. But my choices are January 1, figure out my burn rate and start firing people that Monday. Because I have to figure out, based upon how much money I have in my reserves, real dollars, I can be responsible because you've told me this is what you expect out of me. And go fire people so I can survive and make it, or spend all our money up front and pray that we get our act together and start telling the people of St. Tammany Parish that you are out of reoccurring funds so that they free it up and we can pay for the things that we need to pay in this parish. But we can't even get over the hump of being honest about what money we have or don't have. As we sit here, we don't have an agreement of how much money we'll receive. If we go to work for you, as Judge Burris said, and go help market your measure, you've yet to agree with us how much money we'll receive. I don't know if we have an agreement on the measure as we sit here. So I ask you before you walk out of tonight, you guys think about committing to us and the citizens of this parish that we do have an agreement on these things. We will help to make sure that you are funded and get you the money. And what you'll get from us is a very motivated group of people to help secure the safety of this parish and go help educate the public of the flexibility that you guys need to fund all of the agencies in this parish. I don't not recognize that you guys have financial troubles, but this is reckless. And I ask you, please shut this down. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no more cards, I'm going to close it to the public. I'm going to bring it back to the council or the administration. Mr. Kugel, you have your light on.
The administration want to go first? Or I can go? Okay, I'll speak. Thank you for everything you said. That was, and I thank you, Mr. Sims. One of the things I just have to say is I felt in the last few months and weeks that we were moving away from this acrimony between the judicial branch and the legislative and executive. And some of the news basically reported a kumbaya movement, that we were finally getting, to stop these lawsuits and all that stuff. And it seems like that's just gone again. And that's really disappointing to me. And there is probably nothing more important than to people that live in St. Tammany Parish than safety. And I will tell you, what I hear a lot from my constituents is they're afraid that tomorrow it's going to be gone. And they see the difference between where we live and other parts of the state, and they know that this is temporary. And one of the reasons, however, I do get a lot of most of my constituents reach out to me about drainage and those types of things, is because they feel safe. So they don't think about it in the front of their mind because they're accustomed to safety in St. Tammany Parish. But I guarantee you, if the judiciary and if the DA can't do their job, that's going to change like that. And they're going to realize, how good we had it. And I just Safety is number one. You know, we got to figure out a way to do this.
Thank you, Mr. Kugel. Any other counsel? Mr. Phillips?
I was just curious, 55% cut, can that be explained? What's the difference between last year and this year as far as the budget?
Would the administration like to answer, or perhaps Mr. Sims? Yes, sir.
We weren't prepared to talk about the budget tonight with the introduction of both the capital and the operating budgets. Points well taken by our judges, district attorney, and our district attorney did state that we are without recurring revenue. We are not single-handedly, this administration, wanting to defund our important agencies, our district attorney, our judges, our sheriff, our responsibilities. We do not have that recurring revenue. I'll remind the public again that that revenue went away in 2018, and we are seeking to restore that revenue, not with a new tax, but with your help, a rededication and extension of an existing sales tax so that we can provide the needs without raising taxes and still maintaining the obligations we have for our roads, bridges, drainage infrastructure. We do have a plan for that. It was laid out earlier this year. And I asked at that time for support of every elected official, every business organization, every homeowners organization, every individual and citizen in St. Tammany Parish, so that we can provide the needs that we have. We do not have recurring revenue. It has been acknowledged, but we are not doing this single-handedly. This was put in our hands, and we are looking to not single-handedly solve the issue. We need everybody's help, and we'll be prepared to address all the questions at the budget hearings that you all are going to call in the weeks to come, as well as the public hearing at the November 7th regular meeting of the Parish Council. Thank you.
So, follow on to that. We vote yes, what are the consequences? And if we vote no, what are the consequences?
So we're not voting tonight.
Oh, we're
so
not.
Tonight is just introduction, and this is the moment when the administration gives us the budget, and this begins the budgetary review process, and we'll have hearings with each department and each agency.
Okay.
Mr. Cooper, press your button, sir. You're on, sir. Oh, try it again.
I might add, too, that we will work with the...
Wait, try it again, sorry. There you go. Now you're on.
We will work with the council, the finance department, every department of parish government is the departments of the legislative branch as well. Our staff, you have worked with our finance department, our public works department, and every department. So while you don't have your own public works department or own finance department or own any departments, we will work with you. So our staff is here to help provide you the information that you need. You don't have to hire your own accountant.
Thank you, President Cooper. Councilwoman Tanner, and then Impastato.
Thank you so much. I am very concerned over this. I think most of my council members are too. This is we were told of this maybe 3 days or 4 days ago, but today's the first day we've got it. I can assure you that, and I don't speak for all my councilmen, but I speak for myself and the ones I think that's on the Finance Committee. We are going to go through this. as best we can. I used to prepare this budget years ago. So we are going to go through this and ask questions and see what we can find, because I think it's very important to keep our judicial system, our prosecutors, our jail, because that's why people live in St. Tammany Parish, is for the safety. That's one of the main reasons. You can walk anywhere. You can go out to your car. You don't have to worry about, am I going to get carjacked? Whatever. And as my husband used to say, probably shouldn't say it on air, but as he used to say when he was with the school board, there was a shooting in New Orleans, and he would say, oh my God, here comes another 20 families. I don't have schools for them. So believe me, I take it very serious. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Impastato?
Yeah, I think the council has recognized and has acknowledged how important public safety is, and you guys all are to our parish. And you know the work of the last several months that we've put in to secure funding for the future and to come up with a good plan. And already we have committed to going through this budget. Today we even hired someone to assist us to find the funding that we need to support you guys for now and in the future. So I wanted to make sure that that was clear, and we mentioned it, and you know that we stand by you, and we'll get this accomplished.
All right. Seeing no more other comments, I will. I will make mine. So for those of y'all following it at home and here in the audience, what we've done is this is the first time officially we've gotten this budget. So this is going to go now to the council. The finance committee will run the hearings that are going to occur over the next couple of days. This is truly serious. So we have a lot of work to do, and we have limited funds. So we're going to have to pinch a whole bunch of pennies and go through this. But we do have staff both on our side and on the administrative side, which we're going to utilize. At this point, I will entertain a motion to introduce Mr. Impastato and all right. Next up, ordinance calendar number 7704, ordinance to establish the 2025-2029 capital improvement budget and capital assets. We have we don't, I think we have a card from District Attorney.
One card.
Let me see. Oh, give me a second. Okay. Yep. We're going to need another card from you later, but.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll supplement the card system. I do want to acknowledge one thing as I do leave here. There's a lot of angst and whatnot, but we have spent a lot of time together working on this. So I don't want that to be, I don't want to leave without acknowledging the effort and time spent by all of you on this project. So thank you for all the time that you are spending. I do know you recognize that it's serious, so a lot of it's negative because it couldn't be more dire and serious, but I do want to thank you guys for taking the time and meet and trying to get this done. And at some point in time, today's not the day, but the next meeting, I am going to want a commitment from the parish president that this 45%, 55% is not going to happen, and that it will not be cut from the judges and the district attorney's office, and you're going to make sure that does not happen. So if that's fair, I think that would go a long way with a lot of us to rest a lot of these guys and alleviate the angst that's created. But I do want to recognize the efforts that you guys have made, and thank you.
All right, thank you. And please fill out a card, Mr. Sims, for the last part. Yeah. Okay, I need a motion and a second to introduce the capital budget. All right, so that's Rawling and Corbin. All right, next up, appointments. Resolution to appoint 4 members of the public to the Home Rule Charter Advisory Committee. Mr. Corbin, we do have 4 cards.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone this for 1 month.
All right, so we have a motion to postpone. Do we have a second?
So moved.
Mr. Kugel?
I know lots of people came to speak first. Now they're going to be only limited to Only speaking on the postponement?
Yes, discussing the postponement, so they would be limited to 1 minute.
Okay, so, yeah, I have some things to say, but should I do it before we vote?
Yep, go ahead, Dan.
No, but I mean, hopefully I have a little bit more flexibility.
You do, sir.
Okay. So I didn't expect the postponement tonight. I thought it might be, but I wasn't sure. I just want to go through some of the concerns I'm getting about this. That a lot of people, the feedback I'm getting is that this is a formality and we already kind of know where this is going to go. And it doesn't, what lends to that is a recent newspaper article that already says what's going to be handled and what's going to be done on this committee. And my concern with that is what people believe, and a lot of this goes to what seems to be the number one item, which is reducing or cutting the council. And that a lot of this is coming from a particular study by a certain group that has an interest in a reduction. And when I was reading through the study, what stuck out to me is one of the bases for arguing this was that we should use the New Orleans model, which means cutting the council in half and having full-time professional politicians. And I love New Orleans. I grew up there. I was born there. I don't know that people see that as the future of St. Tammany. And so what I think about when the question to ask always, because I've seen this being pushed a lot, is a very age-old question of cui bono, and that means who profits. And when I think about that, it's the constituents don't profit because they're going to have less access to their representative, and they're going to be dealing with one of their staffers or such. And it won't benefit the taxpayer because they're going to be spending more on salaries, staff, and other benefits. And it certainly won't benefit the rural areas, which feel that they will feel that their votes are even more diluted. So my concern of who is going to benefit, in my opinion, and I'm speaking for myself and what I'm hearing, is big money will benefit because there's going to be a lot more money spent on races because they're going to become more expensive with possibly $1 million at-large races. Special interests and lobbyists will benefit because it's going to be they believe it's going to be far easier to try to influence 7 than it would be 14. And finally, the executive branch would benefit because they might think it's far easier to get a majority of 4 votes rather than 8. And all that is to say is if these are already the impressions we have before we've even made any selections or anything, we already have a confidence problem in this process. And we're already playing catch up. And whatever the recommendations are, if the people perceive this is not focused on how better to serve each constituent, but instead focused on an elite few and a connected few, I don't know, it's going to be hard for this to be a success. So I just want to say we need to do, whether it's this month or next, we need to do whatever we can to make sure the public has confidence in this process and that they feel that their needs, the constituent, is put first.
All right. Next up is Mr. Impastato, then Mr. Binder. And don't forget, we also have a motion and a second for a procedural at this point.
I'll be brief. The idea of this is to improve the parish for the people of St. Tammany Parish. I don't think anybody has any predetermined ideas of what should happen. Should go into that committee, meet, discuss, study other parishes, other areas, evaluate what would be best for the people of St. Tammany Parish, and to make your decision. To base thoughts off of a newspaper article really does not make a lot of sense to me. I think the idea of this, again, everything we do is with doing the thing that is in the best interest of the people of St. Tammany Parish. Clearly, I think we know there's some improvements that can be made. The charter, I don't believe, has been changed except for one item in over 20 years. So with that, I look forward to getting this charter committee going. I'm sorry that it had to be postponed 1 month. The meetings will start in January, and I think we're going to be able to do a lot of good for St. Tammany Parish.
All right, Mr. Binder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Chairman and fellow council members, what I'm reading is a resolution to appoint 4 members of the public to the Home Rule Charter Advisory Committee. That's the topic, okay? And I'm going to limit myself just to that topic. I've talked to a few of the people who we've nominated. I'm supporting this postponement for 1 month because I want to talk to the other people that I have not been able to speak with yet, and that's it. I'm not going to go further than that. It's regarding the postponement and why.
Thank you. Mr. Corbin and then Mr. Kugel.
I'd like to call for the question on this vote.
Yes, sir. All right. Mr. Kugel, we have a call for the question.
I just wanted, what is the justification for a postponement if it's for the public benefit? What is the reason? I know yours. I just.
All right.
The justification, my reason for the postponement, for desiring the postponement, is because I have not had enough time to interview all the nominees.
Okay.
And we've been working on a lot of other issues. I don't know if have you interviewed all the nominees?
I've read the resumes.
You haven't interviewed them? I'd like to have time to interview them all. That's the reason. Is that satisfactory?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd reiterate Mr. Impostato's rationale. We have a lot on our plate right now, and I'd like to have the opportunity to talk to everyone. I've not had a chance to interview every single person. And again, I'd like to call the question.
All right. Questions? Oh, sorry. Emily's going to tell me what to do.
We need
this.
to have public comment before we can call the question, but
Okay.
the public comment will be limited to 1 minute, and all comments should be on the issue of postponement, not on either the nominees or on the process itself.
All right. So first up is Ron Thomas. And sir, if you could limit it to 1 minute and just whether or not we should postpone or not, sir.
This will be very easy. Good evening. My name is Ron Thomas. I've talked to many of you already, and I was prepared to do that here this evening. Y'all got a lot of budget work to do. I yield my 50 seconds left for y'all to do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Beverly Roser, or I hope I got that one right.
I too admit that y'all have a lot on your plate, and the budget is the main thing. But the Home Rule Charter has worked for a while. With the decrease in the government funding of the DA at 55%.
Miss, try to talk in the mic because we can't hear you.
That affects us people that live out there. I'm afraid that the big companies are going to be coming in.
Talk on the postponement.
And
Miss, it's on the postponement. Or should we
the
postpone?
postponement, yeah, because we're here. I'm afraid that together, if you don't look at these people, that you will not, big developments will come in here and cause more problems. More people, more problems. And I think postponing it now, you guys will run up your people, bring them in here, and push for certain elected, or your nominees.
Thank you. And last, I'm sorry, John Kosh, or is it Kosh? Kosh? And sir, so you have a minute to talk about whether we should postpone or not, sir.
I guess when it comes to the postponement, I would just have to say that I know you got a lot on your plate, but a lot of times people take time out of their day to come here and speak and to bear witness to what's going on. And then last minute postponement, it just, it inconvenienced us. So I see the rest of the time.
Thank you. Dr. Benson?
Clock, Dr. Andy Benson, Pearl River, Louisiana. Great to be here, really. No, I don't favor postponement. I don't see a difference other than an opportunity for those who really want to gather their troops for the next meeting to do that. We know the issue. We have had a home rule charter for 20 years or so, and the people in the other parishes do not do better than us. We have 14 council members. They more or less work together. We have a parish president. Population of the parish is 60-40. west to east, so most of the gravity is going to be in the west in the future. So, if we change this and have councilmen at large and we reduce the number of councilmen, that part's not going to change. What it's going to do is it's going to reduce the number of people that big money interests have to talk to, have to take to lunch, and have to influence to get things done. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Benson. All right, so we have a motion and a second. We're closing it to the public. Let's vote on the motion to postpone.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Next up, resolution to appoint one member to fill a vacant seat on the Quality Assurance Panel. Mr. Corbin.
I would like to nominate Cheryl Tanner to fill that position.
All right, and we have a motion and a second for a nominee. Seeing no others, let's vote our machines.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right. Next up is the consent calendar. Any items not pulled from the consent calendar are automatically approved in whole by one vote. Items pulled from the consent calendar are discussed and voted upon individually. A majority vote of the entire council is required to adopt the consent calendar. So right now, I have the following pulled. Under postponed ordinances, number 1, which is number 7590. Under moratorium ordinances, number 2, which is 7705. Under development ordinances, number 6, which is 7709. Also, to go back up to moratorium ordinances, number 3, which is 7706. Under finance ordinances, number 14, which is 7717. Under ordinance resolutions, item number 1, which is 7008. And that's all I have. Does the administration have any other items to pull? That's a no. Looking to my right, I don't see anybody. To my left? No? All right, at this point, I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent calendar. Mr. Burke and Councilwoman O'Brien, please vote to approve the consent calendar.
Ms. Seiden, what was your vote? You can say verbal. Yes. With a verbal yes from Ms. Seiden, the motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right, first item pulled, this was a postponed ordinance. This is ordinance number, calendar number 7590, ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana, Part 1, Chapter 35, Roads and Bridges, Article 1 in general, sections 35-35, directional boring operations to add sections 35-35E, Underground Facility Damage Prevention Board. Mr. Impastato?
Move to postpone indefinitely.
All right, Mr. Corbin?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to postpone this indefinitely. Seeing no other lights, no other comments, let's vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Next up, next item pulled under moratorium ordinances was ordinance calendar number 7705, ordinance to extend the 6-month moratorium on the receipt of submissions by the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission for the re-subdivision or rezoning of property and/or the issuance of certain permits by the Parish Department of Planning and Development, permits for the construction of certain building structures on property in the area bounded to the north by Interstate 12, to the west by Old Todd Road and Transmitter Road, and bounded to the east by North Shore Boulevard and Highway 433, south of Interstate 12 to Bayou Liberty Road, Jefferson Ave, Napoleon Ave, Florian Road, Laurent Road, and to Lake Pontchartrain, being a portion of Parish Council District Number 11, Wards 7 and 9. I would ask Ross Liner to help me out with this one, but this is the moratorium that's in my district. And y'all might remember, my fellow councilman, we had a presentation by Desireline, which is the firm that Mr. Liner helped me hook me up with to help do a study in my area and in Councilman Impastato's area. Mr. Liner.
So just want to give some background, just basic information, no specific questions.
Yes, sir.
So basically, this area is in District 7 and 11. We're trying to develop construction standards, ways to develop responsibly, and reduce the number of severe reparative loss structures in the area, and be able to develop St. Tammany Parish in a responsible way. And we're currently about 80% done with that particular study, and we'll be bringing more information to the council maybe about a month or two. So that's where we are.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
So, y'all, I need y'all to ask y'all to please make a motion in a second, since I'm the chair and this is my department. All right, Mr. Bender and Mr. Corbin, thank you. We have a motion in a second. Please vote to continue my moratorium.
No vote. It's for introduction.
Oh, sorry, it's for introduction only. I apologize. I'm still learning the job, y'all. Okay, second moratorium ordinance pulled. This is ordinance calendar number 7706, ordinance to impose a 6-month moratorium on the receipt of submissions by the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission for the placement of mobile home overlay or re-subdivision or rezoning of property and or the issuance of permits by the Parish Department of Planning and Development's permits for the construction or placement of any mobile home building structure in the area in District 6, commencing at the intersection of Highway 41 and Earl Bennett Road in District 6, excluding properties located at 37,360, 37,380, and 37,402 Howard O'Berry Road, as specifically described herein on the attached map in the attachment titled New Boundary Legal, Ward 6, District 6. Councilwoman Tanner?
Thank you.
Oh, hit your light, Cheryl.
Thank you. With the help of Mr. Liner and his office, this has all been rezoned, and so I would like to remove this ordinance.
All right, and Mr. Corbin?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to remove and a second to remove. Seeing no other lights, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Next up, under development ordinances, number 6 was pulled, ordinance calendar number 7709, ordinance amending the official zoning map of St. Tammany Parish to reclassify a certain parcel located on the south side of North Pontchartrain Drive, west of Silve Road, being 62790 North Pontchartrain Drive, Lacombe, and which property comprises a total of 0.51 acres of land, more or less, from its present L1 Large Lot Residential District to L1 Large Lot Residential District and MHO Manufactured Home Overlay, Ward 7, District 7. Mr. Impastato.
I shouldn't have pulled it, Mr. Chairman. I moved.
All right. So we have a motion to adopt and a second by Mr. Burke.
To introduce.
To introduce.
Thank you, Katrina.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Under finance ordinances, or ordinance, I should say, we only have one this evening. Item 14 was pulled, which is ordinance calendar number 7717, ordinance to amend the 2024 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 37, the fishing pier facilities capital project. Mr. Corbin, this is yours. Oh, Mr. Bender, you got your light on.
Yes, I would just like to thank the Finance Department, Miss Natalie. I mean, she stayed after it. Of course, that's a lot because I stayed after her, but in a nice way. So to Miss Natalie and the Finance Department, thank you for hanging in there with FEMA. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Corbin.
Mr. Corbin, this is in your district, sir.
Yes, sir, it is. I just want to thank Councilman Bender for helping lead the charge and stay on top of it. I also want to recognize Miss Natalie. She was stellar in the meetings that I had from the time I started meeting with her. Daniel Hill and the engineering team that have helped us all come together. Obviously, the support of the administration in general to keep this moving forward. We'd all like things to move faster, but we're actually doing this right. So the money's going to come from FEMA. It's coming from FEMA. They've authorized the funds for us to go move forward on the fishing pier. They're in the design phase. Design will be finished in 2025, depending on how long the environmental survey takes. And when we can start construction, we'll be finished with the pier sometime in 2026. And I, for one, look forward to the grand opening. Thank you.
All right, so we have, do we have a motion, Mr. Corbin?
Yes, motion introduced.
All right, and Mr. Bender, and second by Mr. I'm sorry, Councilwoman O'Brien. All right, under resolutions, Number 1 was pulled. Resolution Council Series Number C7008, resolution to concur or not concur with the City of Mandeville's request for de-annexation and rezoning of a vacant 0.182 acre parcel located near the intersection of North Causeway Boulevard and LaSalle Street from City B2 to Parish Highway Commercial 3. Property is situated in Section 34, Township 7 South, Range 11 East. This is in Ward 4, District 4. Mr. Phillips.
I would go ahead and say yes to this, but there was a note that it must be subdivided first.
And that's been done.
It's been done?
Yes, it was recorded 2 days ago.
Okay, so I do move to approve.
So we have a motion to introduce or to concur. And do we have a second? And second by Mr. Kugel. All right, and on this item, we do need to vote. So please vote your machines.
The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
All right, that concludes the items that were pulled. Next up is appeals. All right, where's my little... All right, each side is allowed 10 minutes to present their case and 3 minutes for rebuttal, and a 2-minute conclusion may be allowed if questions were asked by the council. First up, number 1, Mr. Jeffrey D. Shane appealing the Zoning Commission denial on September 3rd, 2024 to rezone 1.7 acres of land, more or less, located on the north side of Louisiana Highway 21, east of Louisiana Highway 1085, Covington, from its existing Highway 2 Commercial District to Highway HC3, Highway Commercial District 3, Ward 1, District 1. And the petitioner is St. Tammany Parish Government. All right, Mr. Shane, you have 10 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Honorable Council. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I represent the owner of the project that's the subject matter of this appeal this evening, that owner being Acadian Village Highway 21 LLC, which is owned by my friend and client, Mr. Brian Burns, seated with me on the front row. I think a brief history is in order about this case and what is before you this evening. I hope that you will remember at your July council meeting, at a time when you contemplated adoption of the UDC to become effective August 2, we had discussion about whether multifamily should be a permitted use in the HC2 zone. I appeared before you and spoke not only on behalf of my client, but also in general as it related to HC2 properties in our parish that had existing apartment projects on them. And I think it's fair to say that as a result of those discussions, you did not see fit to include apartments of multifamily as a permitted use in HC2. That is a permitted use that can be found in HC3, but you understood the plight or the problem that was being created for those projects that have been here for many years, taxpayers, good business persons, and many residents that live in these apartments to suddenly find themselves in a legal non-conforming structure, meaning that if they were to lose 50% or more of that structure due to some form of catastrophe, fire, hurricane, tornado, etc., they literally would not have the zoning after August 2 to rebuild. That put the investment at risk, that put the lenders at risk, that made a lot of people uncomfortable, and I don't believe it was this council's intention to do that. It was clearly their intention, your intention, I believe, that you didn't want to see new multifamily in HC2 in the UDC that became effective August 2nd. And that's a decision and result that obviously you have made, and one that not only my client, but hopefully all of us understand and accept. The council was also gracious enough that evening to do two things, and that was to discuss the possibility of proposing an emergency ordinance that would protect properties that had apartments on them, HC2 zone properties, until you would have a chance to look at the possibility of rezoning those projects from HC2 to HC3. You also agreed that evening to meet not only with me but others at a meeting that was held on July 16 in the council conference room to discuss these issues and to see if we could come up with some solutions. And the result of that was the council at its August meeting not only passed an emergency ordinance to temporarily protect the HC2 zone properties that had apartment projects on them, but you also agreed to allow the planning department, the director liner, to inventory and report to you which of these HC2 properties actually had apartment projects on them, believing that they would be good candidates for you, St. Tammany Parish government, to refer to the zoning commission for consideration of rezoning from HC2 to HC3. So the thought being is, if you've already got the investment, the project is there, we don't want to take away rights that you currently have. We understand your plight. We will refer this to the zoning commission, and we will allow them to make the decision or the recommendation. So that is exactly what happened, and we went to the zoning commission on September 3. I think there were 4 or 5 cases that were referred, all of which got a positive recommendation, none of which are on appeal tonight. But there was one case that didn't get a positive recommendation, and it's Mr. Burns' project. Why so? I think it's because we were the first case out of the box that night, and I think it's also because we had residents in an adjoining residential subdivision that appeared and spoke in opposition. And I certainly respect their appearance, participation, and believe it or not, I respect their opposition, the views they expressed. I understand that. That's part of the process. But the point is that by a vote of 4-7, the referral that was made by the council requesting to protect what I believe are the rights that have already been afforded my client, that recommendation was a negative or a denial. I might add, interestingly, that the very next case was incredibly similar, being a property in Slidell on a state highway abutted by HC2 properties on both sides with residential to the rear. And interestingly, that case got a positive recommendation. And interestingly, that case had no one in opposition in the audience to that request. If you detect a little sarcasm there, there is a little bit, because I really think that's what happened, and I felt like it was really unfair to my client and Mr. Burns. But I'm not crying this evening. I'm only asking you to continue the vision that I think you showed in July and in August when we discussed these issues. And that vision, I think, is that you believe as legislators that it is not in the best interest of our parish to have multifamily as a permitted use in HC2. That's done. It's established. But you also recognized, not only through the referral of my client's project, but also through the imposition of the emergency ordinance, which is only a 30-day ordinance, but is again on your agenda this evening, hopefully to be continued. I think it's the last item on the regular agenda. That was part of the vision as well. I respect the fact that the zoning commission did not want to make a positive recommendation. I obviously disagree. This is a project that has been there for 35 years. It's got a whopping 28 units on it. It's quiet, it's well done, well maintained, well kept. I've checked with every responsible department I could to see if there's ever been a complaint as it relates to what's happening at this particular development, and there is none. So I think there are ample reasons why you should override the denial recommendation by the zoning commission and afford this property the opportunity to be HC3. Now, a couple of important points. Some of the residents believe, well, if it got rezoned to HC3 and that hurricane did hit, and that project was wiped out to the ground, and it will rebuilt. How do we know that there won't be a 5-story structure built there with 100 units, by way of example? This is a 2-story complex with 28 units. Staff not only spoke at the zoning commission meeting that night, but we have confirmed since then that the upzone to HC3 does not provide greater height, it doesn't provide less setbacks, it doesn't provide a lesser buffer to the rear next to the residential subdivision. It would still be 30 feet. It still has the same lot coverage requirements of 50%, still has the same parking requirements. The point is that the change in zone to HC3 does not allow the intensity, the density, the magnitude of this project to grow if it were to be rebuilt at this location after some loss. Furthermore, staff has very adeptly pointed out that if the project were to be rebuilt after a loss, there's now a planned corridor overlay on Highway 21, which requires a 100-foot setback to build a structure. Right now, our structures are 60 feet from the front property line because it was built 35 years ago before there was a planned corridor overlay. Also, we have much more stringent drainage requirements today, which might require some form of detention pond, detention area, which obviously would take room on the site, and again is likely to reduce the footprint of any apartment complex or buildings that would be rebuilt at that location. So, with those things having been said, I think there's good reason that you started in July, later in August, to upzone this property to HC3. And don't believe that by overriding this denial that you create a precedent that every property along Highway 21 that's HC2 should become HC3. I think the only thing you're saying is that if you've been there for 35 years with an apartment, we will consider upzoning you to HC3 in order to protect your investment. I appreciate
Thank you, sir. All right. Do we have anybody on the opposition? Yep. All right. Is James? Is that you, sir? And are you Ellen, miss? All right. So y'all have 10 minutes together or 5 minutes each, however y'all like to do it.
Thank you. President Cooper. Thank you, members of the Parish Council, for the opportunity to speak in concurrence with the Zoning Commission's denial of application 2024-3916. As I stated before, we are all in agreement that by creating the new Unified Development Code, Mr. Burns, the owner of the property in question, is harmed, and he needs to be made right. It is my understanding, however, that while other property owners with the same issue have consented to being rezoned to the multiple family district as a means of relief, Mr. Burns indicates that this is of no relief to him and insists on a move up to HC3. We resident owners in our subdivision Timber Branch that borders the property in question have raised concerns for future implications of this rezoning. Our concerns include the precedents it sets for the area of Highway 21 and also the adjoining undeveloped properties that sits on either side of his property. It is interesting that Mr. Burns' attorney admitted to an interest in one of these adjoining properties, undeveloped properties, by the way, by either himself or his client, and in fact made a rezoning request for HC3 on that property at the same time. The request, 3917, was postponed and then later withdrawn. A fact not overlooked by the Parish Zoning Commission. There is a solution, in my opinion. all of Mr. Burns's rights and privileges that he once had under the old code HC2 could be grandfathered, thereby relieving him of his concerns. Mr. Burns would be made right again, and we, his neighbors, our concerns for future implications of this rezoning would be relieved. You, the council, are in fact doing this now on a 30-day basis. Just make it permanent. So our request is that you concur with the Zoning Commission's denial. And I yield the rest of my time to Ms. Ellen.
Ms. Ellen?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council, and I thank you very much for letting us speak to you tonight. I am not an attorney, so I am just here to address you from the heart. I live at 481 Laurel Leaf Lane, which this property in question, this apartment complex, is directly behind my home. The attorney is correct. The property is attractive and well-maintained. It very much complies with the HC2 zoning description of moderately scaled highway commercial district. There are many options for future development of this property in the HC2 zoning restrictions. There is no reasonable argument for any change to be made to the present zoning. The gentleman made reference to if a storm came through and destroyed X amount of percentage of the property. That likelihood is basically nil because he can rebuild, okay? I am sure and I hope that all of you all have knowledge of what the HC2 and HC3 restrictions are. The HC3 zoning is described as to provide for the location of large-scale, heavy commercial retail, office and service uses. And also, as a note, that the owner of this particular property that's in discussion, he did initiate the possibility or the process of purchasing the adjoining vacant property. I am sure that all of you have knowledge of the list of possible options of extreme heavy equipment that this property could have under the rezoning to HC3. If you lived in my house and the only thing that separated you from this property is a wooden fence, would you vote to open the gate to the amount of heavy development that could be in your backyard if this property is rezoned to HC3? Would you want your property values to be diminished? Extreme development should not be at the expense of others. The H2 present zoning is very appropriate for the property in discussion. This property is a little over 1 acre. And I would assume that the properties on each side of this particular property we're discussing is probably also a little over 1 acre. But because this gentleman did initiate the process of purchasing this empty property next to him, kind of makes us question what is it that he has to do with this property in mind. I only ask that you think hard and long before you consider any changing in zoning of this property and the negative impact that it would make on the adjoining residential properties if such a zoning change would be approved. As the gentleman did mention, is that this property does have 28 units. But if you read what is the possibility of developments under the HC3 zoning, it is for much larger development, much larger apartments, they could be endless possibilities of what could appear on the other side of my wooden fence. I thank you so much, and I appreciate your time and effort that you give this situation very serious consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Shane? You have 3 minutes for rebuttal, sir.
Thank you. In response, the other case that is mentioned is for an abutting parcel of 1.4 acres, which is undeveloped. It's on the south side. My client does have an interest in purchasing that property. He's not under contract to purchase it. But despite what both of the speakers have said, they are mistaken. We did not petition to rezone that property. That property was sent to the zoning commission to be rezoned by you, the council, because it was an HC2 parcel abutting our project. And we had expressed to Councilman Smith that we had an interest in purchasing that piece. But we do not have it under contract. If we do get it under contract and we want to expand our development, we recognize that we'll have to file a petition to do so. And presumably we would need to seek multifamily zoning in order to do so. So I don't want there to be some impression that we own or control the abutting parcel, that we filed another case, and parish government made the decision to withdraw that case off of the agenda at the October 1 meeting. I'd also like to say that it's my view from a legal perspective that I don't think it would be appropriate for you to expand the grandfather provision that would allow a multifamily project in HC2 to retain all of its rights under all conditions forever. You have very capable counsel that will comment if you ask her to do so, but you don't have the ability, in my view, to create a special set of rules for one property. And so if you in fact did some expanded grandfather approach, in essence, you would be writing multifamily back into HC2, which is a decision that you've already made that you don't want. I think the best solution is the one that you have started by referring this case to the zoning commission and seeing tonight that the zoning commission denial is overridden so that the HC3 can be granted. Let's talk about the fear of heavy development or more dense apartments. This is a 1.7 acre tract that's got a 100-foot setback from the highway and a 30-foot rear setback, none of which would be changed under any circumstance. I'm not suggesting that another project couldn't be built there, but it's hard to imagine how anything would be built that would be more onerous, more intense, or more impactful. Also remember that it is in a planned corridor that has a special set of rules and regulations that you've imposed.
Mr. Shane, your time's up, sir.
That you've imposed that would protect residential development from unfair intensity.
Thank you
for your time.
James or Ellen, y'all have 3 minutes to rebut.
I also, I'm not a lawyer or anything. I'm not sure about how real estate is handled. But it seems to me like if I own two pieces of property next to each other and they're both zoned the same, that's would be the next increment that would be done. It's incrementalism, I call it. Then you could go and you could ask for, you could request that, well, I've got this 1.7 piece and I have this 1.4 piece and they're together. So can I combine both of these pieces of property into one property? Into one. Then I have 3 acres. Now, 3 acres would be pretty good. I would think that if I would want to sell it to have it redeveloped into something else, it would be a lot more attractive. Or if I wanted to redevelop it myself, I could redevelop that
entire housing, the units, the multiple family units, into ways that would be more expansive and more numerous. These are just ideas that came to my mind. I didn't have time to develop them, but it's something that I think maybe we should all think about. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellen, did you want to add anything? We have another minute and a half.
I would just like to confirm what my neighbor said. And I bought my home a year ago, and I bought it knowing what was behind me. I looked into what was behind me, and what was behind me was very acceptable because it is well maintained, it is well cared for. I have absolutely no issues with any of the persons that live in those apartments. Every once in a while I hear a child giggle, so I assumingly there may be a child there. Every once in a while I hear a dog bark. Maybe there's a dog living there, but that's fine. I love to hear the child, I love to hear the dog. But I don't want to have on the other side of my wooden fence the possibility of development if you change this zoning to HC3. And please, please read all that can be built under HC3. And there is 3 acres that would be available for development. And I know that this gentleman said that he was not asking to change the zoning on the empty property, but if you change the zoning on his property, I kind of think that's the next door that's going to be opened. Thank you so much, and please give this your serious attention. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this point, I'm going to close it to the petitioners and bring it back to the council. Mr. Kugel, then Mr. Smith, and then Mr. Rowland. Mr. Kugel?
I first want to say I sympathize with your concerns. That this your homes and you live right next to it. I did have a question for Mr. Shane. A few questions for Mr. Shane. So this is the issue of nonconformity. Of course, is coming up. Should it not be rezoned to HC3 because we have very deliberately chose to make HC3 permit apartments and such, HC2 not in the new UDC. Would this would have, my understanding is this would affect insurance if it was not rezoned because it's non-conforming?
It could affect a lot of things.
Right.
Certainly loan relationship and insurance, because then the lender and the insurer understand that the investment there conceivably could not be replicated or rebuilt under certain circumstances.
And concern about the property, I would assume there's not enough, should it be rebuilt or to build anything around the apartment complex, further multifamily development, or you would say there's not enough room for that even if you guys had a desire to do so?
Well, the footprint...
now you have the 100-foot buffer as well.
And the footprint of the buildings at present occupy, with the parking and setbacks, occupy the entire 1.7 acres. So it's really, if you know that you can't go any higher, no more height, you know that the lot coverage, and I guess you all understand what lot coverage means, but it means that your structures cannot be more than 50% of the area. If you put all of those factors into play and then throw in the plan card or overlay requirements, the 100-foot setback, which is not being observed now, and possibly a detention, I think the odds would tell you that a redevelopment at that site is going to be smaller, not larger.
Right. And then I just had one question for Ross, just to...
And the other thing I would add, though, is that even if there were catastrophe and there is no change of zoning, that parcel is susceptible to HC2 commercial development. And I'm not suggesting there's bad things in HC2, but it's almost being suggested that the upzone to HC3 opens up Pandora's box. Pandora's box will not be opened. It certainly would be susceptible to commercial uses, but it's already available for commercial use. Thank you.
Mr. Liner?
So Ross, one thing that's been brought up, I don't think it would be, I will say for myself, it would not be responsible to leave this in a non-conforming situation. I don't think that would be the responsible thing to do. What has been brought up is why can't it be zoned to something else that would still permit it? Is that really even an option at this point?
So when this took place, when the council decided to remove apartments from the HC2 zoning classification. We then had, what we had already talked about with the emergency ordinance and how to correct the properties that are already in existence. Staff did the research and identified the proper zoning for each individual application that went to the Commission for Rezoning. So we, as in the St. Tammany Parish Planning and Development Office, did the research and submitted to the Planning Commission, or excuse me, the Zoning Commission, that HC3 was appropriate for this area.
Okay, I mean, that's all I have.
All right. Mr. Rowling? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Smith.
All right, good, thank you. These apartments are in my district, and I met just recently with Ms. Raines and Mr. Ardon and kind of shared my feelings on it. If this parcel where these 28 apartments have been for the last 30 plus years, if that parcel wasn't developed, it was just like the piece to its left and the piece to its right, undeveloped trees. And if Mr. Burns owned that property and came to me and said he'd like to rezone this HC3, I would not be in favor of doing so. It's undeveloped. You bought it, it was HC2. You knew what it was when you bought it. There's no reason for us to have to change that zoning. HC3 in this incident, in this particular case, you've got an apartment complex that's been there for 30 plus years. As some of the neighbors who moved in, knowing that the apartments were there, have attested, it's well kept. I've never heard of a complaint coming from that apartment complex, even in the city of Covington, when we were on the council in Covington. I never got a phone call about it. It's been well run. To say that this would open Pandora's box or set a precedent on other existing non-developed properties in the area, I don't believe that's the case. Each zoning change would be considered based on its own merit. It wouldn't be because your neighboring property is zoned HC3 and mine's HC2 and I'm going to buy it and I want it to be changed to HC3. That's not how it works. I know you kind of say, well, they're HC3, I want to be HC. I don't think that the zoning commission would say, oh, well, if your neighbor's that, we're going to approve your change. You know what I'm getting to? That just doesn't sit well with me. I can also say this. If I thought this would have any negative impact upon Timber Branch, or Timber Creek, excuse me, and the residents that live there, well, it is Timber Branch. They've got so many developments these days, you lose track. But Timber Branch, if I thought it would have any negative impact, I promise you, it wouldn't be. I wouldn't be in favor of it. I think, we've only been around 8-9 months now. I think you're going to find out that I've got your back 99.9% of the time. I'm going to be in complete agreement with you. In this particular case, I don't see any negative impact. And I'll tell you what the safeguard is. If Mother Nature took that building out, those apartments, if Mr. Burns wanted to rebuild his apartments, he could do so. He could do it in basically the same footprint. But if he were to say, I'm out of the apartment business, and he was going to sell the property to somebody, and it's zoned HC3, they're limited to the size of that lot. They're limited to the setbacks that Mr. Shane was pointing out. They're not going to build a big 20,000 square foot warehouse or whatever other conditional use would be allowed in HC3. They're very much limited to the size of that property. If Mr. Burns would have purchased a piece of property next to him, adjacent to that plot, and he'd say, I have that 1.7 with the apartments, and now I just bought the 1.4 acres next door, and I bought the 1.3 on the other side, and I've got this 4-acre plot. They're still not zoned HC3, and that doesn't automatically say you're going to get your zoning request changed to HC3. I'd be the guy fighting it. I'd be the guy telling them, not why I've got to say so in it. You bought it, at HC2, it remains HC2. It's not developed. You knew what you had. In this case, this is just making a fair decision to make this gentleman a business decision, make him whole. I know Mr. Ardon was talking about grandfathering them in. We can't just grandfather in that one specific HC2 piece of property. We'd have to go out throughout the parish and allow everyone out there to do it. That's my understanding on that. Legal, is that true? Okay. So with that, sure. Let's have Mr. Line up here.
I hate to come back up and speak more, but I think it is worth noting, as the planned corridor overlay, we talked about a couple aspects of it, the increased setback, the buffering requirements, but any application on LA 21 has to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for review, and not just an application for rezoning or subdivision of property, but for the actual development itself. So your building permit is going to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a public hearing that has notified all the residents abutting it. So if any of these other parcels are coming for even a building permit, not even a rezoning, it's going to a public hearing. So the people in Timber Branch will have an opportunity to speak on every single building permit that is on LE 21. So I just want to point that out. So it's not limited to just rezonings. It's expanded to all building permits. In fact, and the commission can impose additional restrictions if they have worried about a fence. They can, increase the fencing requirements and things like that. So it's a very good protection that they have on LE 21.
Thank you, Ross. I've got a few other things to say, but I think y'all get my point. I don't feel like this is going to have any negative impact on that particular neighborhood or that area or that corridor. If we went back before August 2nd, when the UDC went into effect, the new UDC, if in fact that apartment complex had burned to the ground, the owner would then be able to rebuild whatever conditional use were allowed in HC2. So he would possibly say, I'm tired of the apartment business, and maybe I've got somebody wanting to build a bank, or there's a lot of doctor's offices along that corridor too. So maybe a medical group would come to him and say, we're interested in buying that piece of property. We'd like to build a doctor's office, whatever. He would have had the right to do that. If we only were to allow this to be changed to multifamily, he doesn't have those options. So we're not making him whole, because prior to August 2nd, he had those options. If we do overturn the denial and make him HC3, I feel like the residents are going to be protected for the reasons I've stated. But secondly, I feel like it's a fair shake for the property owner. If some, God forbid, bad event happened and that apartment complex were to be blown apart, he would then still have the option to rebuild his apartment or maybe make it a doctor's office, because that would be a conditional use. So with that said, I'm kind of finished unless anybody on the council wants to ask me a question. Thank you.
All right, Councilman, thank you, Councilman Smith. Councilman Rowling? Oh, I apologize.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Mr. Ross, no, you good. You answered my question actually just a minute ago. And Mr. Smith, you did an excellent job by explaining that. I think we're on the same page on that, so thank you very much. So that's all I had. I had some questions, but they were answered.
All right, thank you. Mr. Smith, would you like to call the question?
I'd like to make a motion.
Turn your mic so I can record it. Yes, sir.
I would like to make a motion to overturn the denial.
All right, so it's a motion to override the zoning denial, sir?
Yes.
All right, do you have a second?
Second.
By Mr. Rowling. Seeing no others, please vote.
The motion passes with 13 yeas and 1 abstention and no one absent.
All right, next up. Sure. Mr. Smith, would you like to introduce an ordinance to for the zoning change?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to introduce the ordinance.
All right, we have a motion to introduce and a second by Mr. Rowling. All right, thank you. Moving on to ordinances for adoption. Ordinance calendar number 7654AA. Ordinance amending the official zoning map of St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana to reclassify a certain parcel located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 434 on the west side of Berry Todd Road, being 61864 Louisiana Highway 434 Lacombe, and which property comprises a total of 1.05 acres of land, more or less, from its present A4 to HC2, Ward 7, District 7. Mr. Impastato?
I'd like to move, but I also want to note that we've had an agreement with the landowner, although I think we're protected anyway because of the change we made, but to never allow access to the property from Berry Todd Road.
All right, so we have a motion to adopt. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Kugel. Please vote. Has everybody voted?
Mr. Burke, what was your vote? Oh, the motion is unanimous with one absent.
All right, thank you. Item number 2, ordinance calendar number 7674, ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Part 1, Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 17, Parish Fees, to add Section 2-714 and Section 2-752, Appeal Fee, and Part 2, Unified Development Code, Chapter 200, Procedures, Section 200-3.4, Conditional Uses, and Section 200-3.6, Plan Corridor, and Chapter 800, Subdivision Regulations, Section 800-1.2, Rights of Appeal, relative to adding a fee for appeals to the Parish Council from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Impastato? So moved. Ms. Seiden? Oh, sorry, we have a couple of speakers. Mr. Corbin? All right, we're back. We had some technical difficulty, so we need to start over. However, there's been a request in order to help speed things along, and the people who are in the room to take the agenda again out of order and open the floor to the off-the-floor agenda. Councilwoman Tanner, we have a motion. Do we have a second by Mr. Smith? All right, please vote. This is to open the off-the-floor agenda. Everybody, please vote your machines. And this is to open the floor for the off-the-floor.
The motion is unanimous with 2 absent.
All right. So first up is off-the-floor item number 1, which is a resolution approving the issuance of not exceeding $100,000 of limited tax certificates of indebtedness of fire protection number 9 of the Parish of St. Tammany Parish, State of Louisiana. Councilwoman Tanner.
Thank you. I have the bond attorney and the fire chief here. This is to borrow on anticipated revenues. And Grant, would you like to explain? Chief, will you want to come up?
All right. You're on, sir.
Schluter, Foley Udell, Bond Counsel, and this is Fire District number 9, and last Friday I was advised by the fire chief that they had a kind of an emergency situation because of some unanticipated expenses. They needed to do a cash flow borrowing authorization from Gulf Coast Bank, their fiscal agent bank. The fire chief is here, but apparently some unanticipated expenses that they may need to make that loan, and it is time sensitive to meet payroll for November, and also they need some cushion in case there's additional expenses because of a hurricane if we experience that. So Bond Commission has agreed to hear it late, and you all have taken it late, and they very, very much appreciate it. But the bank is agreeable to making the loan. They'll pay it back on or before March 1 of next year when they receive the tax collections for this year.
Anyway, I make the motion.
We have a motion. Sorry, my mic was off. We have a motion by Councilwoman Tanner with a second by Mr. Impastato. Seeing no other questions, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a good evening. Councilwoman Seiden, would you like to do number 2 now, or do you want to wait?
No, we can do number 2.
All right, you press your button and I'll...
Okay, well, Mr.
Oh, and Mr. Cool. Okay. All right, let me read it, and y'all can figure out who wants to go first. Off the floor, item number 2, resolution to commemorate the October 7th, 2023 terrorist attack in Israel, remember the victims and hostages, and recognize the Jewish community of the greater New Orleans area. All right, Kathy, then David.
Mr. Kugel approached me with this recently, and I really appreciate it. Mr. Kugel, my husband is Jewish, and we have many family members that are Jewish all over the country and that have traveled to Israel. So this is very personal to me. So I really appreciate the council allowing us to put this on. I really wanted to focus on the hostages on my opening invocation because it's just unthinkable if we had any family members that were being held right now. And I just remember during, I think, late 70s, I don't know, maybe everybody remembers when we had American hostages. There was a countdown. It didn't matter if there was a Democrat or a Republican in office. And does everybody remember the faces of those people? They'd hold them up on the news, and every day, number 360, number 365, that they were held captive. And so I just wanted to have everyone remember that we still have Americans being held, and it is very serious, and that we need to continue to pray every day for their safe return. And also, I have family members who are in colleges in the Northeast, and they have experienced extreme anti-Semitism, and we have been fearful for their life. So I also want to let everyone know that that is real. I know it's on the news, but it touches a lot of us. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kugel? Oh, sorry, David, let me turn you on. There you go.
Thanks, Councilwoman Seiden. So a lot of times we are a parish council, so obviously we usually focus on the parish. But we did, I think, receive an email, at least I did last week, from a Jewish organization in New Orleans about an event on the 6th, commemorating October 7th at the Jefferson Performing Arts Center at 6 p.m. And as Ms. Seiden mentioned, this is something you'll see it on the news constantly going on, college campuses, etc. Some of the protests are, needless to say, shocking. And so I think this is just, and we do have a strong Jewish community in this area, in the Greater New Orleans area. And if you're interested in that event on this Sunday, it's at 6 p.m. at the Jefferson Performing Arts Center, commemorating October 7th, an evening of remembrance, resilience, and hope. And I move to adopt.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Seeing no other lights, let's vote our machines.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right, at this point, we're going to go back to our regular order of the agenda, and it was made aware. I was made aware of the fact that we need to restart the ordinances for adoption. They were not covered, so I do need to reread number 2. Okay, so we're going to start off with number 1, ordinance calendar number 7654AA, ordinance amending the official zoning map of St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana to reclassify a certain parcel located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 434 and the west side of Barry Todd Road, being 61864 Louisiana Highway 434 Lacombe, and which property comprises a, we have to redo it, sir. Yep, which comprises a total of 1.05 acres of land, more or less, from its present A4 to an HC2. This is in Ward 7, District 7. Mr. Impastato?
For the record, so I move, but the landowners agreed, and I know we did a minor change to their zoning request, but to eliminate the option for access to the property from Barry Todd Road. With that condition, I move.
We have a motion, and do we have a second? Second. By Mr. Kugel. Seeing no others, please vote. Has everybody voted?
Yes, the motion is unanimous with 2 absent.
Item number 2, ordinance calendar number 7674, ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Part 1, Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 17, Parish Fees, to add Section 2-714 and Section 2-752, Appeal Fee, and Part 2, Unified Development Code, Chapter 200, Procedures, Section 200-3.4, and Conditional Uses, and Section 200-3.6, Plan Corridor, and Chapter 800, Subdivision Regulations, Section 800-1.2, Rights of Appeal, relative to adding a fee for appeals to the Parish Council from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Impastato?
So moved.
All right, so moved. And then Mr. Kugel, this is where we were when we left.
Thank you, Ross. First, I appreciate the information you sent us a week or two ago. My understanding is this would be $250, but it would not actually cover the costs of the appeal. Is that closer to $6,000?
So what you're looking at, that 6,000 number, is on the right-hand side of the spreadsheet. Those are the hard costs. So of the 35 cases that we did an average on, the hard costs are items such as the advertising, envelopes, postage, the letters, things like that. Soft costs are the support services. So those combined are about $8,300 divided by the 35 cases, and that was an average of $236 per appeal. So we rounded up to $250 an appeal. And I'd like to note that the Planning and Development Department, the Department of Permits and Inspections, and to a degree the Department of Engineering, are funded by the services that we provide to our customers. So that is the funding that we operate on. We don't have taxes or millages or anything like that. We are solely funded by the customers that we have. So we are asking that we charge for all the services that we provide.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Seiden?
No,
sorry, David, go ahead.
So my concern here, that was all I think I had for you, Ross. I appreciate it. Some of the research I did, I didn't really see this in the nearby municipalities and parishes. And I guess my thought is this more of to be a deterrent? And if that's the case, who is it deterring? And my other question is, just for the council to consider, have we really been dealing with a lot of unreasonable appeals? I don't know that we have. I mean, just my thought. And I don't know that it's going to be a deterrent for big businesses, but the little guy that couldn't hire an attorney to justify his or her position at the Planning and Zoning Board, they would be affected by this. And I think only to last month with one of my constituents, I think the council rightly overrode a decision of the Planning and Zoning Board that should not have been denied. And he just wasn't able, I think, to convey his position correctly. And I think the council rightly overrode that. And my thought is that I just think this makes government less accessible and not more accessible to people.
All right, Councilwoman Seiden and then Councilwoman Casabon.
Isn't there a hardship exception?
Yeah, I was kind of looking towards Emily for that one, because if you don't mind explaining.
Sure. So if you look on, I think it's page 2 of the ordinance, it has an exemption, and it says if a manifestly unreasonable financial hardship is demonstrated by the applicant, then those appeal fees can be waived. So there is a waiver provision in there, and this is not meant to be punitive at all. It's just meant to make up for the hard costs that have been expended in terms of certified mail that goes out to notify the individuals that came, and for the publication, so that the department itself is not paying those costs.
Ross, something, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's I just wanted to make sure you knew that there was a hardship exception and that this is not punitive at all.
Well,
All right, wait, Councilwoman Casabon, you had your light on? Okay, so Councilman Kugel? Oh, sorry, David, press the button, I'm sorry. There you go.
How do you see, I mean, and Emily just read this, I guess, the exact language. How do you have experience doing this in other situations?
Yes.
This kind of analysis?
Absolutely. So we have impact fees that we charge for roads and drainage. So those fees can be waived if you are less than whatever the percentage is of the HUD requirement for low to moderate income or to meet that threshold. So that's one example of a hardship. So we waive impact fees all the time based on a certified salary.
Those parameters are in the ordinance as well. I didn't read the whole thing, but it says a manifestly unreasonable hardship shall be defined as a situation where the demonstrated income of the property owner falls within the parameters set by the most recent U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Public Housing in Section 8 income limits for very low income, which is 50% of the regional median income.
So is that just below the poverty line or close to the poverty line, or?
Just whatever it is defined as by HUD.
Okay. That's all I had.
All right. Councilman Bender?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Ross, I want to make sure I'm right on this before I vote. Right now, you're not recouping any hard costs.
Hard and soft costs, that's correct.
Okay, hard and soft costs.
That's right.
Right. But, so all the mail that goes out, placards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we're not receiving any revenue from that.
As well as advertisements in the paper.
Right. So you're saying that y'all have looked at it and it's about $236 per?
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to vote for this because we just got finished hearing the judges, the DA, et cetera, talk about, you know, we have to fund them. And
right,
I know
so
this would be going to you, but it'll well, no, actually, you personally.
Right.
No, I didn't mean that.
I know, I was just kidding.
But it might release some money that we can send over to them. So thank you for the information.
Yes, sir.
All right. Seeing no more lights, I would entertain a motion.
We have a motion, we need a second.
All right. So we have a motion. Now we just need a second. All right. Councilwoman Sidon, please vote.
The motion passes with 13 yeas, 1 nay, and no one absent.
All right, item number 3, ordinance calendar number 7675, ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Part 1, Chapter 4, Airports and Aircraft, to make mandate insurance requirements based upon aircraft. Mr. Phillips.
I make a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Corbin. Please vote. Oh, I apologize.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Item number 4, ordinance calendar number 7676 AA, ordinance to amend the Parish Code of Ordinances, Part 1, Chapter 10, Article 4, Animal Control and Welfare, Section 10-642 definitions, to update the definition of proper shelter in regards to cattle. Section 10-643, Enforcement Authority, to address unfounded animal welfare complaints. Section 10-647, Animals at Large Leash Law, to add enforcement for repeat offenders. And Section 10-667, Animal Established Permits, to provide updates regarding microchipping and annual permitting requirements for animal establishments. Councilwoman Tanner?
Yes, thank you. We work with the Animal Control Department, Larry and myself, and this will exempt cattle from the proper shelter requirement because the state enforces the cattle. We had some complaints and our animal control was involved, and we decided that was not where it should be handled. The other one is there is anonymous unfounded complaints. This will address those people calling in, not wanting to say who they are, and just randomly picking and tying up our animal control enforcers. The other item is to address repeat offenders of the leash law, and also to add requirements to animal establishments, including reporting and microchipping.
Councilman Rowley?
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Tanner did explain everything that this ordinance is going to go ahead and address. I know we both received phone calls months ago about some concerns in our areas on this, so I think this is really going to address some issues that tighten up things. In working with the director of the Animal Control Department. We worked well together in the administration to go ahead and get this moving forward. So at this time, I don't know if we have other council members, but I'll make a motion if it's time.
All right.
Second.
And Mr. Kugel? Oh, sorry, David. Press your button. I apologize.
I'm in support of this. I did think it'd be useful for the public to know that there is a leash law. Emily, if you could summarize that real quick. I hate to put you on the spot, but it is, I don't think a lot of people understand the leash law as far as their dogs. Well, or somebody that, because I will tell you, a lot of people I know do not know that this exists.
Mary, do you have it?
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, there is a leash law in the parish. The change in this is if you are offending it multiple times, that your animal can actually be impounded. Because we do spend a lot of time and effort going after animals that are in violation of the leash law, and we wanted to make sure those code enforcement officers have a proper way to address repeat offenders.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
All right, next up, item number 5, ordinance calendar number 7677AA, ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on receipt of submission by the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission for the re-subdivision or rezoning of certain property and or the issuance of certain permits by the Parish Department of Planning and Development permits for the construction or placement of certain building structures on property in the area bounded by 11th Street, Harrison Avenue, Highway 59, Fire Tower Road, 5th Avenue, and Hellenberg Road. All are more particularly described herein on the attached map, Ward 3, District 5. Mr. Phillips, and we do have one card. Stephen Blank. Good evening, sir. You have 3 minutes.
How you doing? Stephen Blum. I recently, I think I spoke with you, Mr. Laughlin.
Yes, sir.
About a lot that I bought recently, maybe about 2 months ago, and it according to the parish, is in this moratorium. And the way I'm basically, the way I see the moratorium, Florence Road is not in it. It's just the way that I'm interpreting it. And I'm just here for clarification.
Yes, sir. All right, so first I need to clarify that this also includes Mr. Phillip and my district. So we inherited your area, and it was split in half due to the rezoning. But there wasn't, since it's not our moratorium at the beginning with, there's some question about the language. Is that correct?
Well,
I think he's more.
well, yeah, my problem with it, Florence Road is not anywhere, it stops at Fire Tower.
Right. So she's looking it up right now.
And I'm beyond Fire Tower.
Right. Yep. It would be.
And
who do we get to get that?
If Daniel's here.
Yeah, is Daniel still here? Yeah, we're gonna call the engineer out to make sure.
Yeah, my property doesn't touch Fire Tower Road.
Yeah.
And there's also a something to do with the parish. It's called I think a area of concern.
Yes, sir.
Is that something to do with the council?
Yeah, I believe so. Daniel, can you take the mic for a second?
So the prior council member that enacted the moratorium had originally asked the Department of Engineering our opinion on the issue. Our response to it was to enact the area of special concern to protect drainage in the area. The moratorium was a council action, not on the recommendation of the Department of Engineering.
Okay. All right. Councilman Phillips, let me turn your mic on for you, sir. All right, you're on, Pat.
Well, his question is if he is actually in that area of special concern or the moratorium.
You got a location?
Fire Tower Road, I have an address. It's 21351 Florence Road.
Fire Tower Road was the dividing line for the area of special concern. So I guess you would say on the north side of Fire Tower Road was included in the moratorium. The south side was not.
Where's he at?
Are you on the north side or south side of Fire?
On the south side of Fire.
So you would not be located in it?
Okay.
All right, and then let me just check with legal. If I needed to, just to do belts and suspenders, I could vacate it just for him next month, just in case we needed to.
Yes, it'd have to be done by resolution, and we just need that property description so we can vacate the moratorium as to that piece of property. I just wasn't sure if your department had looked at this particular location and determined whether the moratorium was applicable. Just trying to pull it up now.
Yeah, so we're going to take care of you. We just need to figure out, can we do it now, or do we need to do it next month?
I have a permit. I filed for the permit over 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look like it would be, but
Okay,
I
so
don't have anything really in front of me except for what's
Right.
in the packet.
So, sir, what we can do for you is I will get with Daniel and his department and also our legal to make sure if you're out of it. Yeah, could you state for the record the address
The address of the property.
of the property?
It's 21351
Yeah.
Florence Road,
Right.
Mandeville.
So we'll check and see, and if you're not in it, just if that's true, then we'll contact permits and let you proceed with that. And if we have to, I will vacate the moratorium for you next month so that you're released out of
The
it.
moratorium also doesn't cover single-family homes. It's basically a development.
Yes, sir. So we need to clarify that. So this is something, as I told you on the phone, we inherited. So we weren't there for the creation of that moratorium. But we'll take care of you either way. Thank you for coming tonight. All right. So, Mr. Phillips, we're back to you for the adoption.
Yes, I'd like to adopt. Emily had some verbiage to clarify. Is that correct, Emily? What we were discussing earlier, or?
The question that was posed was whether this moratorium applies to single-family infill lots, so lots that do not require either a re-subdivision or a rezoning to be developed. So they have the proper zoning, they don't need to be subdivided, and the moratorium states that it applies to the issuance of permits for residential developments. And there was a question about whether that would apply to the single-family infill lots and whether that needed to be clarified. The Department of Engineering raised that question with me. It was my opinion that that would not apply to infill lots, and wanted to make sure that that was your understanding as well.
Well, I go by what the definition is by the engineering, but since it's an area of special concern, that would be a no-fill area.
Correct, yes.
But we do have an issue with the size of lots, which if they're smaller than an acre, then we have a density issue, and that's something we'd like to, I have Ross is going to look into that further and get back to me, and but for now, I'd like to keep it as it was.
All right, and as your partner in this, I'll defer to you because it's more concentrated in your area, the need for this moratorium, than mine.
Right.
So I'll go with your lead. So we have a motion by Mr. Phillips. I need a second. Second by Mr. Kugel. All right, seeing nothing else, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Item number 6, ordinance calendar number 7678, ordinance to impose a 6-month moratorium on the receipt of submissions by the St. Tammany Parish Department of Planning and Development and/or the issuance of permits by the Department of Permits and Inspections or construction or placement of any new building structures in Forest Glen subdivision located in Council District 7. Mr. Impastato?
So moved.
So moved. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Kugel. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Item number 7, ordinance calendar number 7679, ordinance to impose a 6-month moratorium on the receipt of submissions by the St. Tammany Parish Department of Planning and Development and/or the issuance of permits by the Department of Permits and Inspections for the construction or placement of any new residence or dwelling within the Tammany Forest subdivision, as described in the attached recorded plat, located within the geographic boundaries of Council District 7, east of Highway 434, and on the east and west sides of Barry Todd Road. Mr. Impastato? Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Kugel. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Item number 8, ordinance calendar number 7680, ordinance amending the official zoning map of St. Tammany Parish to reclassify a certain parcel located on the south side of Johnny F. Smith Boulevard across Corso Lane, being Lot 39, Johnny F. Smith Memorial Business Park, Slidell, and which property comprises a total of 1 acre of land, more or less, from its present I-2 to an I-2 industrial district and rural overlay. This is in Ward 9, District 14. Mr. Strickland? All right, do we have a second? Second by Mr. Rowling. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Item number 9, ordinance calendar number 7681, ordinance amending the official zoning map of St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana to reclassify a certain parcel of land located on the south side of Slemmer Road, east of U.S. Highway 190 Service Road, Covington, and which property comprises a total of 0.32 acres of land, more or less, from its present NC1 to a Highway Commercial 1, Ward 3, District 5. Mr. Phillips? So moved. Do we have a second? Second by Councilwoman O'Brien. Please vote.
Mr. Impastato, what was your vote?
Yes.
With a verbal yes from Mr. Impastato, the motion is unanimous. with one
Thank you. Item number 10, ordinance calendar number 7682, ordinance amending the official zoning map of the St. Tammany Parish to reclassify a certain parcel located on the south side of T.J. Smith Jr. Expressway and on the northeast side of Receiving Station Road, Pearl River, and which property comprises a total of 82.253 acres of land, more or less, from its present A2 to an A4. Oh, I'm sorry, from its present A2 and A4 to an I2, Ward 9, District 14. Mr. Strickland? Do we have a second? Mr. Corbin? Thank you. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Item number 11, ordinance calendar number 7683, ordinance amending the official zoning map of St. Tammany Parish to reclassify a certain parcel located on the west side of Hill Street, south of Arthur Road, being 72111 Hill Street, Covington, and which property comprises a total of 0.17 acres of land, more or less, from its present A4 to an A4 and MHO overlay, Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Rowling? All right, we have a motion to adopt. Do we have a second? Mr. Smith, having a motion and a second, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Item number 12, ordinance calendar number 7684, ordinance amending the official zoning map of St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana to reclassify a certain parcel located on the southwest corner of 4th Street and Richard Avenue, being 61197 Richard Avenue, Slidell, and which property comprises a total of 0.26 acres of land, more or less, from its present A4A to A5, Ward 9, District 14. Mr. Strickland? Do we have a second? All right, Mr. Corbin, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Mr. Bender, what was your vote? Yay. With a verbal yay from Mr. Bender, the motion is unanimous with one absent.
All right, I lost my spot. Hold on.
Number 13.
Item number 13, ordinance calendar number 7685 AA, ordinance amending the official zoning map of St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana to reclassify a certain parcel of land located on the east side of Interstate 12 and the west side of LA Highway 1088 Mandeville, and which property comprises a total of 306.10 acres of land, more or less, from its present AML to an AML and RBCO overlay. This is in Ward 4, District 11. Okay. Mr. Bender, thank you, and Mr. Impastato, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Oh, sorry. I apologize.
No, we don't. We don't have a card.
Okay, Mr. Crosby, you're free to speak. Please fill out a card. When you're finished, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Well, I want to thank you all for hearing our case, and I also want to thank the parish administration for the work that goes into this document, the RBCO. It's like a PUD, but for commercial use, and I hate to interrupt the momentum you had going there. But, I really, against my better judgment, I actually stood up here to say something. But anyway, it's mainly a thank you to the parish staff, and you guys have a great bunch of people that put these documents together. I also want to give you a quick update on what we're doing out there. We're talking about the Gulf South Commerce Park. It's our project. That weird structure you see from I-12 and 1088 is going to be a water tower. Imagine you've got some calls about that. We also have all the underground water and utilities done. We're starting on street work now. So if you have any questions about what we're doing, I thought I'd take the opportunity to answer any questions. If not, I'll sit down.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Thank you.
Mr. Crosby, don't forget to fill out a card, please. Thank you.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank y'all. Number 14, ordinance calendar number 7686, ordinance to declare tax adjudicated properties as surplus properties and to authorize the parish to proceed with the process for advertising and sale of such adjudicated properties. Mr. Impastato, can I have a motion? Can I have a second? Second by Mr. Burke. Thank you very much. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Item number 15, ordinance calendar number 7687, ordinance authorizing the Parish of St. Tammany through the office of the parish president to enter into a servitude agreement with AT&T for an underground servitude at the South Street well site, Ward 4, District 7. Okay, can I have a second? Second by Mr. Burke. Motion and a second, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Item number 16, ordinance calendar number 7688, ordinance authorizing the Parish of St. Tammany through the office of the parish president to accept the donation of a perpetual drainage servitude for drainage improvements and maintenance in Timber Creek subdivision, Ward 4, District 10. Councilwoman O'Brien.
Very happy about this. So moved.
Second by Mr. Impastato. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Item number 17, ordinance calendar number 7689, ordinance authorizing the Parish of St. Tammany through the office of the parish president to acquire certain parcels, rights of way, and or servitudes for Lock Number 2 Road Bridge Project, Ward 5, District 6. Councilwoman Tanner.
I make the motion.
All right, do we have a second? Second by Mr. Impastato. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Item number 18, ordinance calendar number 7690, ordinance establishing a no parking area on Brookter Street in Kings Point subdivision. This is Ward 8, District 14, Mr. Strickland. Do we have a second? Mr. Bender? Thank y'all. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Uh-huh. I'm going to start calling this out like RPC.
Mr. Kugel, what was your vote? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Item 19, ordinance calendar number 7691, ordinance to amend the 2024 operating budget, amendment number 15.
I make the motion.
Councilwoman Tanner, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Rowling. Please vote.
I'm sorry, I cleared the vote, but the vote was unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you. Are we on item number 20?
Yes.
All right, item number 20, ordinance calendar number 7692, ordinance to amend the 2024 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 35, information technology capital projects. Councilwoman Tanner and Mr. Bender, please vote. I'm almost as getting as fast as you, Joe.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Miss O'Brien, you had your light on?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's for the next.
Yes, ma'am, you'll be called on. Item number 21, ordinance calendar number 7693, ordinance to amend the 2024 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 34, parish-wide drainage capital projects.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second by Mr. Impastato. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Item number 22, ordinance calendar number 7694, ordinance to amend the 2024 capital improvement budget and capital assets amendment number 33, sales tax district 3, capital projects. All right, Impastato and Tanner, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Item number 23, ordinance calendar number 7695, ordinance to amend the 2024 grants budget, amendment number 9. All right, Mr. Burke, can I have a second by Mr. Impastato? Thank you. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right, item number 24, ordinance calendar number 7696, ordinance to amend the 2024 operating budget, amendment number 16. Mrs. Tanner, and second by Mr. Impastato. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right, number 25, ordinance calendar number 7697, ordinance to amend the 2024 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 36, safe haven capital projects. Mr. Impastato, this is in your district. All right, do we have a second? Second. By Mr. Burke. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Item number 26, ordinance calendar number 7698, ordinance to address public comments, improve code administration, and make minor changes and corrections to clarify the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Part 2, Unified Development Code, adopted December 18, 2023, and per ordinance number 23-5339. This is parish-wide, and we have one card. Carlo, good evening. You got 3 minutes, sir. Take your time. And then Mr. Corbin, you're next.
Thank you. I'm here again to talk about billboards. And the legislation changes the max for new billboards from 300 to 378 square feet. Dramatic change. But then the existing billboards go from 400 square feet to 672 square feet. And I keep asking, why are we doing this? Well, the industry says that it meets their specifications. And I would wonder why the parish council wants to go along with this. Let me just say that billboards can be placed right now. The regulations say that they can be placed within any non-residential zone, that is within 200 feet of the interstate, the U.S. highway, or any state route. So that's quite a few areas where it can be, where they can be placed. It also says that they have to be 500 feet from any residential zone. So when I looked at this, and I kept wondering, and the statement was made that with other restrictions, there wouldn't be too many areas where this would apply. Well, that's not what I found. I found that there were at least 100 areas in this parish right now where this would apply right now. It was also stated that we would have other restrictions in place that would negate this happening. What restrictions are we talking about? The 25 feet restriction, the 50-foot restriction, the 100-foot restriction away from the roadway? So that leaves another, I mean, this is 200 feet, it can be. So obviously these can go anywhere. I don't believe there are any restrictions in place that would negate these billboards from going any place that are along the interstate, along U.S. highways, and along state routes. So the billboards now are also, it was stated that the 672 square feet, that there are some that are over this right now. So they would have to be, come down to 672. What isn't stated, though, is how many, and I think the vast majority are are way below 672, but now they can go up to 672. So, I mean, this is what you're about to adopt. You're about to adopt increasing the number of billboards, square footage that's permitted in this parish, and I would hope that you would say no to that portion of the changes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Corbin?
Ross, upon introduction, you provided a lot of commentary on this. Would you mind repeating your commentary previously?
Yes, so all new billboards will be 378 square feet. The current regulation is 300 square feet, but the industry standard is 378. I don't find it to be a major increase. I find that to be just meeting industry standard. The ones that are 672, the ones that are existing of that size, if they're already that size, they can go back. However, all new ones will be at 378. Most of the ones that are on the larger size are at I-10, which you see on I-12 is mostly the 378. Just recently, within the past 6 months or so, there was a piece of property on 434, roughly, Crintel and I-12. They were abutting a residential district and had to go to the Board of Adjustments because they did not meet the criteria to meet that standard site and structure provisions to place a billboard. So they went to the Board of Adjustments and they received a variance. I believe that the site and structure provisions therefore limits considerably where billboards are going to go in St. Tammany Parish. Because the site and structure provisions have not changed, actually. So there is a cap on the billboards. If they were proliferated across the parish, they would have done so already. I think our site and structure provisions are pretty strenuous, in fact, to make sure that they are located in a proper area.
Thank you.
Mr. Corbin?
I'll make a motion to accept.
All right, we have a motion to adopt, and we have a second by Mr. Strickland. Oh, Mr. Liner?
I do want to state that the commission made a recommendation removing items 3 and 4 from, I just want to make sure that that's how you're reading your motion. Oh, it's not this one? No, hold on. Are we on 26? Yes. So this is the one. It's not? No, it's not. It's for next month? Yes. All right. I was looking after you, Carlo.
Thank you, Carlo. Appreciate it. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Mr. Smith, what was your vote? The motion passes with 13 yeas and a verbal nay from Mr. Smith.
Thank you. We now move on to emergency ordinances. Number 1, ordinance calendar number 7723, ordinance to extend for an additional 30 days the emergency ordinance to continue permitted uses on certain developed parcels affected by the amendments to the Unified Development Code until rezoning of said parcels is effectuated. Mr. Smith, this is your... Yep, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. By Mr. Rowling. All right, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Emergency ordinance number 2, ordinance calendar number 7724, ordinance to extend for an additional 30 days the emergency ordinances to amend the revised Unified Development Code, Chapter 100, Administrations, Section 100-2, UDC Administrators, Subsection 100-2.2 and 100-2.5 to reincorporate alternate members. Mr. Impastato, can I have a second? Second by Councilwoman O'Brien. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right, give us a second. We're having a change of counsel. Legal counsel. Good evening, sir. Good evening. All right, council members, please go back to your green agendas. We're on off the floor item number 3, executive session. pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute, Chapter 42, Section 17A, to discuss litigation captured as Orleans Audubon Society et al. Versus St. Tammany Parish Council et al. Docket number 2022-12574, Section D, 22nd Judicial District. We need a motion to go into executive session by Mr. Rowling and Mr. Impastato. Please vote. We are in executive session. Y'all, we're going to
The
go.
motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you. Y'all, we're going to just go straight in the back and stand up. Let's go fast. Come on, we got to get out. All right.
Nice to have somebody not so much taller than me.
Mr. Impastato, can I have a motion to come out of, and Mr. Corbin, thank you. We have a motion and a second to come out of executive session. Please vote. All right, the last item.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Thank you. Last item of the evening, off the floor, item number 4, resolution consenting to the waiver of potential conflict by the Parish Council and its members regarding the legal representation of the parish government in certain state litigation.
I make the motion.
All right, Councilwoman Tanner, and second by Mr. Burke. Please vote.
And that motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Councilman Smith, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, sir, you may.
Thank you. We are adjourned.